All right, so today we're going to learn tattoo and piercing, but before that, let's do a little housekeeping. Make sure, as you know, you'll have to check in so your teachers know that you're here in this event. And there's a great question documents. That's where you're gonna look at questions that you want to ask. And the most important thing is the evaluation form. Make sure you do it right after the event so you'll have fresh idea on what to write on there, and it's very important because that's how we give you credit for being here, and you that's a requirement for you to graduate. And if you have questions, you can ask it on the chat, and but make sure to be on mute all the time. And the other thing that we were trying to do also is that if you want a closed caption, you can request it so we can turn it on. And if your phone doesn't have the QR code, all of these is also in the chat. You can click on the link. And that is it for me. You can I'll have Nick do the share.
All right, there we go. Welcome to my home. How are you guys doing? All right.
We're good.
Good. All right. I'm gonna find the chat so I can.
So we have lots of students today, including middle schoolers. So they are very excited.
Perfect. Right on. Well, that is exciting. I think that's about the age I was when I started getting excited in tattoos. I apologize. I'm not at the shop today. I've been kind of under the weather, and we have a rule at the shop to if one of us is sick, we stay home until we're not sick. And so we're doing this from my home today. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Do you want the students to drop any questions they have in the chat box?
Yeah, and then I could just kind of start off. Want me to just kind of start and just tell you about myself and the business and all that, and then I'll kind of answer questions as we go, if that's all right.
Yes, please. Yes.
Cool. All right. My name's Nick. I'm originally from Montana. Back in '98, I moved out here to Oregon, and shortly after moving here, a lot of you guys are probably too young to remember. But I started working for a business called G.I. Joe's, which was later called Joe's Sports and Outdoor. It was just a big retail store that was here in the Northwest. After I worked there a bunch of years, I started going to school for graphic design. I had done a little bit of college in Montana, and after getting settled out here, I decided I should probably get back into college because I always thought school was a good plan. And then I had an unexpected life situation happen where me and a gal were going to have a baby. And so I decided kind of to focus more on working. And then in the process, that's where I was at G.I. Joe's, or Joe Sports and Outdoor. And then one day, 11 years into my retail career, I was driving to work and I heard on the radio that we were going out of business. And that very day, I happened to have my tattoo scheduled for myself. I was getting my leg tattooed by my friend Tanya Magdalena at Above the Pearl Tattoo downtown Portland, and went into her, and she was like, "Hey, what are you gonna do that now that G.I. Joe's is going out of business?" And I had no clue, and I was scared. And I had this at this point, my daughter Macy was 4 or 5, so she was still pretty young. And I said, I have no idea. And she said, you know what, you should get into tattooing. You were in graphic design and you drew this tattoo that I'm tattooing on you today. It's a great career. And I asked her, tell me all about it. And it was something I'd been interested in before, but it was kind of one of those, I don't know, back in the early 2000s, it seemed kind of like one of those alternative jobs that seemed cool, but you really couldn't make a living at or something. And so I just jumped in and I was like, you know what? I'm 30 years old. Let's give it a shot. I don't have anything else going on. She referred me to a school called Oregon School of Tattoo Arts. and I took that guy up, kind of a, looking back on it now, kind of a crappy art portfolio, and so went and talked to him, but he seemed to like me, and he thought my art had potential, and started going to the Oregon School of Tattoo Arts under a guy named Rio de Janeiro, and he taught me everything I needed to know. I'll get to this part, but in a minute here, but that was a year-long process, and then after that, I started working at a tattoo shop in Beaverton called Canyon Body Art, and then after I went to Canyon Body Art, I was only there about a year, and I was like, you know what? I was a store manager at G.I. Joe's. I do not do good working under somebody. The owner of that shop was a great guy, but I said, heck with it. I'm going to go do my own thing. And I decided, oh, you guys are really asking questions. All right. I decided to open up my own shop, and that was July of 2012, and that's when I opened up Destination Inc., and we're there in Hillsborough ever since, and it's been awesome. I'm going to keep kind of filling in on a few little steps of doing it, and then I'll answer questions if that's all right. So to become a tattoo artist in Oregon, or a body piercer, actually I have some more notes on that too, you have to do one of two things. You have to find a shop that is licensed to apprentice you. And Oregon is the toughest state in the country to become a licensed tattoo artist or a body piercer, which has its downsides and its upsides. The good thing about it being the downsides, it's harder to get in and harder to maintain a license. You have to take like a test and all this stuff. But the good side is it kind of keeps out what we call kitchen wizards and garage tattoo artists and garage piercers and stuff like that. It just keeps it on the up and up. It's a good business, and so it's good to kind of be regulated. It's annoying at times. So with that said, when you go to so you either have to find a licensed piercer or tattoo artist that is licensed to apprentice, or you can go to a school. The guy that ran the school that I went to, he was more of a traditional apprentice than a school as you would hear about. He was an older gentleman. He kind of grew up in the 60s, and he taught it like a traditional apprenticeship. The only difference is he no longer wanted to run a shop, and so he charged. So it technically was a school, but we learned all sorts of stuff like color theory, making needles, making our own tattoo machines, sterility, all the Oregon laws and regulations. So when the Oregon Health Licensing Agency comes and does an inspection of my shop, I'm ready for them. And most importantly, I'm keeping the public safe. We see, in the almost 10 years we've been open, we've probably had 10,000 people come through our door. And so that is honestly the most important thing, is to keep them all safe. And so learning those steps and process is good. The school was about $9,000 at the time. I think that's very common anymore, about that price range. Piercing schools, to do them, it's about the same thing. My shop has a licensed apprentice, piercer apprenticeship there, and that's Mike. Unfortunately, obviously, he can't be here today. But to do that, you go to him, and he charges, I think it's like $7,500, and you have 750 hours of training. That's 250 hours of theory, 500 hours of practical hours, and you have to do 300 body piercings under him. To kind of give you the breakdown, that's basically the same thing as the tattooers. We had to, again, learn all those random skills that he was teaching us, and then we had to do 150 tattoos, or no, we had to do 50 tattoos and 150 hours of tattooing. You had to meet both those requirements. And then once you learned all the stuff through the state, or that he wanted you to learn about the laws and the sterilization and how to tattoo. And then you met both those regulations. Same with the piercings. Once you hit the 300 body piercings and learn all the other stuff that you need to learn from Mike, then you go to the Oregon Health Licensing Agency and you take a test. And there, the test is a 2-part thing for the piercers. You have a let's see, yeah, you have a test on theory, and so they just goes over. It says, ask you all this regulations and laws and stuff like that, and then they have a practical one. And for body piercers, you actually have to do a piercing at the state in front of a board of other piercers, and so that's kind of cool. With tattooers, I guess they don't want us tattooing at the state, so we have 2 tests, and one is to basically, again, laws and regulations, all the kind of boring stuff. And then one that it's more of a practical test, and they'll ask you really specific questions about day-to-day tattooing. And so then, yeah. And then once you're out of those schools, you're kind of a independent contractor, and you're licensed to go hit up different shops, and hopefully you'll get a job and whatnot. I'm gonna just kind of roll through a few questions just so I don't ramble on and then kind of answer most of your questions. So let's see. We'll just start at the top. So how much money do you make? Is it fun? Do you like the artistic part of it? Same way with piercings. It's go for tattoo the money wise. It can be very good money. Right now in my career, I'm charging $140 an hour. So if you add that into an 8-hour day, that's a lot of money. You can make up to like $1,000 a day if I have a long day. Do I work that hard? No, I don't. I enjoy my time off. So, and I only work 4 days a week, which is also a blessing about the career. You can make, when I first started, I was making jack squat, because you're starting, you don't have clients, and this same goes for piercings. You don't have clients. You're sitting around the shop trying to get walk-ins, and then pretty soon you'll get a couple, and then they'll tell their friends if it's a good experience. And it's just a thing. It's like word of mouth. And then pretty soon you got a family, people coming in, and then they tell all their friends. And then eventually at about my 4-year mark, ever since I started tattooing, this was the only thing I did for money. It was my full-time gig. Luckily, my wife, my lovely wife, Janelle, worked. And so in those early years when I was struggling a little bit more with getting clients, she kind of helped supplement the household income. But about at the 4-year mark, I could have supported my whole family on just my career. And so it was really great. Do you like the artistic? Is it fun? Yeah, it is fun for the most part. It's funner than any other job I've ever had. Having been doing it over 10 years, I would say it's less fun. Like the newness of it and the excitement of it is kind of worn off, and it is kind of like a job or a career, but that's okay. I think that happens with anything. But like when I compare it to anything else I've ever done in my life, it's still better than anything ever done. It's really flexible in the hours, because I schedule when I want to work, and when I don't want to work, that's fine. The artistic part of this job is really great as well. These questions are kind of a double-edged sword here, because it's like I've always been a very artistic person, but then it kind of, that's why I only work 4 days a week as well, is I try to spend a couple of my days off when I'm not doing shop stuff behind other than the tattooing, because I have to do my bookkeeping and ordering and all that and whatnot. I try to draw for myself, because I do like the artistic part of it, but for the most part, I'm drawing for other people. So you have to find that nice balance of, oh, I'm going to, I don't know, draw for myself. And I'll get into that. I have kind of a secondary job. I actually have a secondary and a tertiary job that's kind of fall into this, and I'll explain that a little bit. What are the most and least rewarding aspects of the job? Most rewarding, again, is the schedule. It's awesome. Least rewarding is kind of what I'm going through right at this moment. I got sick this week. I actually got pretty sick. My parents came in from Thanksgiving and brought a bug from Montana with them. And I've been masked up and vaxxed up and that whole deal forever and haven't been sick in years. And then it just hit me like a train. And so this is kind of a least rewarding part of the job is when I have unexpected time off. So I'm not getting paid. I'm at home. I'm sick. And so there's no sick time. There's no vacation time. There's no retirement. And so those are really tough things to navigate in my life. And again, it can be done. And I had to learn some of that stuff on my own. Like I had to learn how to invest my own money because I didn't have a company that was like had a 401k and stuff like that. My retirement's probably not what it should be, but luckily, again, my wife and I have a pretty good balance, and she kind of puts more of her paycheck towards her retirement because she works for Apple, like the phone company. She works for iTunes actually. And so she puts a lot of her money towards retirement, and I kind of pay the day-to-day and all that, and we're a good team. So teamwork makes the dream work, I guess. Do you have any education for this job? So I did a little, I've done art school in college. Like I said, I was going to graphic design. That's somewhat education, I'd say, other than the actual specialized tattoo schooling. That's really the main education into it. A lot of it is self-taught though. Once, like, you can only learn so much from a teacher, and how he taught us to tattoo was that he taught us all the whole process of doing tattooing. So, excuse me. So we would like go in one day and he'd be like, all right, I want you to learn how to sterilize your station. So we sterilize our station, and then we work on color theory or something like that. And then we'd work on needle making and whatnot. And he'd add a step to it, bam, 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 down the line. My teacher would. And then by the time, and then he's like, all right, cool. You know everything up to the point of tattooing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you start tattooing grapefruit. And that was really cool. So then, like, I knew how to build my machine, work on my machine. I wasn't buying needles. He didn't allow us to buy needles. We had to learn how to make them. A little bit about that really quick is like a tattoo needle isn't just like a single needle. It's like a grouping of needles. So like to do an outline, I use like 5 needles and they're hooked on this bar, and you had to like learn to solder them on there. And so he made us make our own needles. And so I knew all this, had all this tattoo knowledge on how to do it. I just never had tattooed. And so then he's like, all right, you're ready to tattoo. So then we get some grapefruits in, did a bunch of designs on them, treating the grapefruit like they were clients, basically. Like he'd be like, all right, have your grapefruit fill out a form. So like you didn't, because you had to have like an intake form. And just so we like knew every single step of tattooing. And the reason why he did that was so then when it came time to tattoo living people, basically guinea pigs, we didn't have anything to think about other than we didn't have to think like, oh, is my machine tuned up correctly? Is my workstation a grimy mess? Whatever. We knew all of that up until that point. And so then it was just all second nature because we had to tattoo like 30 grapefruits or 50 grapefruits or 200 tattoos on 50 grapefruits. And so, yeah. And so that's basically my education. We're just hands-on. It's just like a trade school. How hard is it to get to an apprenticeship? That's a tough one in Oregon because we're so regulated. To get in an apprenticeship, you have to have a super solid art portfolio. I mean, it has to look nice because everybody wants to get into tattooing. There's this huge group of people that want to get into tattooing. And I think that the tattoo schools have kind of a bad name with the kind of older crowd, that it's like, oh, they're just churning out tattooers. But if you find a good one, they really are good. I mean, but to find somebody in Oregon who's licensed to apprentice, who isn't a school, is tough. One of the positive things about going to a school versus apprenticeship is that, like, you're paying for your education if you go to a school. And there are some crappy schools out there, just like crappy colleges. like you're paying for your education. So when you show up at an apprentice, like I have friends who are apprentices at different shops, and they're like, yeah, the first 3 months I got everybody in the shop coffee and cleaned the toilet. I didn't clean any toilets when I was at my apprenticeship, so it was kind of nice. So you just, but I think there's a definite positive side of learning that grunt work of being apprentice. I know people who are tattooers who did the apprenticeship versus school, and I think they take it a little more serious, having gone through apprenticeship versus school. But I don't know, it is what you make of it. Like I've always been kind of a hard worker, and so going to a school and then putting those skills to work, it wasn't that hard. How do you improve the steadiness of your hands? I have pretty shaky hands and like to work on that. You know what? I'm the same way. When I draw, I wouldn't say I have shaky hands, but like when I draw, I squeeze the heck out of a pen. And so like, by the time I'm done drawing, my hand's absolutely destroyed and tired. The one thing that I liked about tattooing is the tattoo machine is pretty heavy. And so it actually like helps stabilize my hand quite a bit. Another thing you can do is get one of those stupid little weight things you see at Dick's Sporting Goods, and they're just like these two handles, and they got a spring, and you squeeze them. Just work on hand strength, and that will absolutely steady your hand. I've had younger tattooers work for me that did have shaky lines. I said, hey, strengthen your hand at night. Do 30 reps of this thing, or 3 sets of 30, so that you're squeezing it 90 times. And slowly, as you work on tattooing, you build up the hand strength, and you will get less shaky. If you're like a super shaky person, like all the time, like maybe tattooing's not the best idea for you, because you do want to have a steady hand. But just working on hand strength, I think it's doable for anybody, unless maybe you have a medical reason for not, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe you should think of a different career. How long does training and practice take? It was a year long. Again, for the piercers, you have to basically 300 piercings under a supervision. Me, it was 150 hours and 50 tattoos, or vice versa. Yeah, about a year. Do you have to have a license to teach someone or have an apprentice? Yes, you do. You have to have a tattoo license or a piercing license to teach somebody else. And you've had to have done that for, I believe in Oregon, it's 5 years. So I could technically be could have an apprentice under me. I'm just not into that. I have kind of I have 3 jobs. In a way, I run Destination Ink. That's a big part of the job. I tattoo. And then I have this kind of like side art business, because I have hit my 10 years of tattooing, getting a little burnt out, where I sell stickers and art. And that stuff I can do sitting on my couch. And so that is, something else I do. And then I also work for Topps Trading Cards, and I draw Garbage Pail Kids. I was always in the Garbage Pail Kids when I was a little kid, and the opportunity came up, and so I started drawing them. And doesn't pay real great, but it's fun. Again, I get to do it at home, and who would rather not leave their house if they can? So yeah, I have kind of 3 jobs, but my main one is tattooing and running Destination Ink. You do have to have a school. Somebody asked, do you have to have a high school diploma to tattoo? High school diploma or a GED in Oregon? You do. That is very important to get. What are the important skills and qualities you need for this job? Learn to draw. That is like probably the most important skill. You don't have to learn how to draw anything, but learn the fundamentals of drawing. Honestly, I think art schools are a little overrated. They teach you a lot of good stuff, but man, get on YouTube and just look up YouTube. How do I learn how to draw? If you don't know how to draw, I've seen this 1,000 times. You don't have to be an excellent drawer, but I've seen this happen over and over again. People who don't know how to draw, but they want to be a tattoo artist, is they'll get in and they'll do all right because they're tracing people's designs in the beginning. And then pretty soon they start to kind of figure it out, and they still can't draw anything on their own. And so they're always relying on like looking up some Google images or Pinterest images. Like, you want to learn your own style. It's okay to look up reference, but you want to know how to like figure out how to draw rows on your own eventually. It doesn't have to be photorealism or anything, but you want to learn how the fundamentals of art, I would say. I think that's probably one of the most important skills for the job. What surprised you most about the career? Oh boy, the people. The people were a trip. I never worked at a place or had a job where, excuse me, people were so excited to come see me. Having worked retail for so long, it's like people just always, nobody wants to spend money, or if they do, like my store was a sporting goods, automotive, athletic place. It's kind of like Dick's Sporting Goods, but they had automotive in there and hunting stuff, way more hunting stuff. And it seemed like people were just grumpy when they come in there. And now people are super excited to come in. And yeah, that really surprised me. It was kind of just a nice shock. The other thing that surprised me is the amount of, and not to like sound like I'm bragging, but I want you guys to know, is the amount of money I'd eventually make. Like, I make really good money sometimes, and I didn't have to go to school, to a traditional college. And that's also why I recommend people try trade schools. It's just cheaper. It's cheaper. A lot of times trade schools will pay you to go to them. Granted, I had to come up with like $9,000 to go to tattoo school. But like, that's like one semester of a regular college. And then to come out, and then in a few years, I was making as much as like my brother, who's an electrical engineer, and he had $40,000 in school debt. But you have to be very self-motivated. I was really hungry. And again, when I got into this, I was 30, and I was like kind of scared. I'm like, I'm starting this new career over. And so I just went at it. I tackled anything that came through the door that I was comfortable doing. And I worked 6-7 days a week for a long time, building up my clients. And now I get to kind of sit back, and I work 4 days a week. One of my days off is doing bookkeeping and all that stuff, and kind of my other jobs, but I still only get 2 days off a week. I take a bunch of vacations a year. So yeah, it's cool. Do I have tattoos? I am covered. I got, like, my arms are super tattooed. Got fox over here. Got a garden scene over here. I have pretty, if I say so myself, pretty cool tattoos. They go all the way up onto my back, my legs, from basically under my underwear to my toes is basically covered. I don't have any big chest tattoos. That's for in the future. But yeah, I do have a lot of tattoos. I have about 200 hours of tattooing done on my body. Is your job physically demanding, or does it hurt your hand? I've had days where my hands are just brutal sore by the end of the day. The thing that I've noticed hitting this 10-year stride of tattooing, that's probably one of the hardest part of my job, is the physical demand. Is I'm bent over like a pretzel a lot of time. One thing, if I could do this all over, I'd learn to tattoo sitting up straighter, and maybe wearing those like little loop goggles like a dentist does. Because my back is trashed right now. I'm actually been working less and getting my back worked on, getting these like injections in my back. And so yeah, it's really physically demanding. And so like I have a younger gal that works in my shop, and I'm always like, sit up straight, like learn yoga. Like I'm doing yoga now. I can't even barely bend over and touch my own knees. I'm like, learn yoga. If you're getting a tattoo, take some yoga classes. You'll thank me later. Do I tattoo myself? Yes, I have a few times. I tattooed a tattoo for my mom and my dad. They're both still alive. I get a lot of requests to do tattoos for people's parents. So like a guy will come in, but I want a tattoo for my mom. She died. And you know what? My parents are always lovely people. They're my favorite people in this world, other than my kid and my wife. And so I tattooed a little design on my leg for my mom and one for my dad. And so, yeah, I've tattooed myself. The first person I ever tattooed was myself. When I went to tattoo school, we had to tattoo. Our teacher required us to do a bloodline on ourselves of a tattoo. What that is you tattoo yourself with water instead of ink. So you knew what it felt like, what your clients were going through. And I was kind of a, I don't know, wild person or whatever. And so I said, heck with it. I'm just going to give myself a tattoo. And it's way up on my thigh, and I did a jack-o'-lantern for my very first tattoo. I didn't do a bloodline. I did a real tattoo. I said, if I'm going to tattoo myself, it's going to stick. So, yeah. Do I tattoo myself? How old do you have to be to get a tattoo or study to be a tattoo artist? 18. So you're 18, get a tattoo in Oregon. For piercing, you can't be a piercer unless you're 18 as well. You can get piercings, obviously, when you're a minor with parental consent, but you have to be 18 to become a tattoo artist or piercer. Is that where your sweatshirt came from, your side art business? No, actually, this is for my regular Destination Ink. That's my tattoo shop. I used my iPad Pro that I use for my side business to design it. And then, we sell them at the shop. So there's more income right there. Do you have to be really good at drawing to be a tattoo artist? You don't have to be really good, but like, again, like you want to learn how to draw. When I first started tattooing, I never drew a flower one time in my whole life. I was just like, that's why drawing Garbage Pail Kids is so fun to me. When people ask me my favorite styles, I say I like drawing cute, creepy, gross things. And I've been that way since I was a little kid. I was that weird little kid who thought it was cool to like draw a fake scar on my face or draw a fly on my hand or whatever. I like cute, creepy, gross things. So like if somebody came in like, if you want to tattoo anything you wanted, I'd be like, let's do a zombie cupcake. And that would be super awesome to me. And I could always draw a zombie cupcake. Like I could practically draw with my eyes closed. And sorry, I'm getting a little off topic here, but like, do I have to really be good at drawing? No, but just the fundamentals of art. I could draw a cute, creepy zombie cupcake, but then somebody come like, can you draw me a rose? And I'm like, I have no idea how to draw any. I could draw a stick art, basically a stick man version of a rose. But having the art fundamentals behind me, it taught me how to look at something like, okay, I can draw that. And then sometimes, like, I only do custom tattoos, but like in the sense of like tracing, if there's something you don't, like I never, if somebody brings me a picture of somebody else's tattoo they found online, I never trace it. Like I want every person that I tattoo to have a custom tattoo. But if they're like, I want a realistic looking rose, best way to get a realistic looking rose is I take pictures of flowers that I'm out and about. And I have like a file on my computer, roses and from my garden. And I'll trace one of them. I'm like, because me tracing Mother Nature's rose is going to be way better than me trying to draw my own Mother Nature's rose, and then I'll tattoo it. So, you don't have to be really good at drawing, but try to learn to draw before you do it because it is a huge part of your job. Do you have a favorite or least favorite tattoo to do? I will tattoo anything. I actually like, there's kind of this like joke in the industry, people getting white girl tattoos, they always say, and it's just like little tiny, like a little arrow or like a little heart or like a little cross. I love doing those because they're good money, they're in and out the door. But favorite is just like creepy thing, cute little creepy things. I love to do like a skull with like a bow on its head or like, I don't know. Least favorite, again, like I don't really have a least favorite. Actually, I do. I don't like that new trend in Oregon where everybody has the forest going up their lower arm sleeve. I've done so many of those. I'm burnt out on them. I don't even do them anymore. I just tell people, go to another shop. I'm not doing any more of those. Like, yeah, they're just so boring, and they're like the new tribal armband. They're like the tribal armband of the 90s. People get all these trees going through them. I think they look nice, but yeah, that's my least favorite thing to do. In my opinion, stick and poke's dangerous. The only thing that's dangerous about tattooing is doing it unsafely and unclean. Don't tattoo in your garage or your mom's kitchen. No, I have some friends that stick and poke tattoo for a living professionally, and there's ways of doing it. There's tools to do it correctly, so you're not using a safety pin and pen ink. If you learn how to tattooing like the traditional way I am with the machine, you will kind of in a way learn how to properly stick and poke, and learn that like when you see people stick and poke tattoos and they got like, let's say a circle and like one side's all blobbed out, that's because the way they're injecting the ink in there. I do think it's a little dangerous in the sense of people tattooing at home. They always claim they're safe and sterile and all that. You're not. Anybody who knows the tattoos at home, they're not safe and they're not sterile. They do not have the equipment I use. They do not have the chemicals we use. We use hospital grade chemicals, and we have a thing called an autoclave. And it's a thing that any of the tools that we use, we only single use our needles, but like have like a thing, it's called a tube. And it's a metal piece that the needle goes through, and then I hook my tattoo machine on and it runs the needle through it. And those you reuse, but you stick them in this vat of this really harsh chemical that eats anything that's biological. Then you scrub them in a sink with these metal brushes and some dry version of that stuff that you just had them soaking in. There's like a powder version. You scrub them with this powder, and it's real toxic. Like if you hold it in your hands, it'll eventually burn you. But you're using gloves, and then you run them through a thing called a sonic cleaner, where the sonic cleaner shakes off any particles, human particles, blood, ink, anything. It just shakes them off. It's this little box, and it just vibrates violently, and it gets off any of the particles. Then you rinse it with clean water, and then you bag them in the same bags that you see like in doctors' movies, or if you've ever gone to the dentist, you see they're opening up tools out of these bags that are in those same type of bags, and then you cook them in an autoclave. And it's a machine that applies not only heat, but it applies pressure. And that the reason why an autoclave kills things is because, like, let's say you have like an AIDS molecule that's just like super small and you can't see it, or even worse, a hepatitis C molecule. Those are really hard to kill, and they're really little. Let's say there's one in a little crack. And so what it does, you put 270 degrees of heat onto it, and then it's like 300 or 400 pounds of pressure. And the pressure will crack that little molecule and let the heat in to kill it. And even though you can't see it, your item is clean, your thing is, then that just completely kills it. So if you know anybody that's tattooing at home, they're not doing it safely. Nobody in the world can convince me unless they have an autoclave and all the right chemicals to do it. So yes, it's dangerous to some degree. Do you prefer your own art to tattoo, or whether the customer will bring? I love it when customers bring art in. Sometime I will say, hey, do you want me? Do I like customers bring the art in? Yes, I love it when they bring the art in. And I ask them two things. Do you want me to do it exactly like your drawing is, or do you want me to do my version of this drawing where I either like smooth out the lines, because maybe they'll do a flower and like one of the petals is kind of janky or something, just because they're not used to drawing every day. I draw hours and hours every week, so I'm fairly good at drawing. Or if they want it, like I've had people bring in like kids drawings and I know I want it exactly every little imperfection, and so cool, I just trace it exactly how they want, or I draw my version of it. And but yeah, I love it when people bring the art in and they do a little of their own homework. Makes it more unique than just like finding some pictures off of Pinterest. Most repetitive tattoo that I've done, it changes. It used to be the infinity symbol. A lot of names. There's a lot of little cursive script. People like to get that stuff. And then just the forest lower arm sleeve. That was really repetitive. What is the most interesting tattoo you have done? Most interesting tattoo. I've had some really cool ones over the years. One that turned out that, and for some reason it really stuck with me. It was this kid who was a foster kid, and he'd had a good relationship with his foster parents, but they ran a legit foster home. They weren't like, they had kids in and out of them, but they were good foster parents, and they had a rule. They said, we're not your parents, we're your foster parents, but we will teach you how to navigate life, and we'll be here for your rest of your life. But when you're 18, 19, you got to get out of here and go make your own self of your life. And so we can bring in another little kid that needs a place to live that's safe and happy and whatnot. And he got the fan that was in his bedroom. It was a room fan that hung from the ceiling, and it was kind of funky color. And he said the last night he was laying there, he took a photo of it, and it was like he'd been 18 already, and he wanted it. And I tattooed that on his leg, and I think that one was really interesting, and it was like had like a really deep meaning, and he was still close to his foster parents, but he wanted that to remember his room that he lived in from the time he was like 10 to 18 with this family, and he said his life before he met them was just crappy, and so I thought that was really cool and really interesting. What is the most amount of time you spent on a piece? I've done a few. My buddy Kyle, he's a tall kid. I've done from his hip, like all the way up his hip, all the way down to his toes, is one cohesive piece. It's an underwater leg sleeve, as we call it, and he's got sharks and octopus and jellyfish on his knee, and then there's like a shipwreck down at the bottom, and then on his foot there's a treasure chest, and then there's like some gold coins that spill out onto his toes. That one took us about 60 hours over, and that was like 4 or 5 hours every couple weeks for a year. I mean, it took us a long time to do that. Sometimes we have 3-hour sessions, sometimes we have 4 or 5 hour sessions, but it was a long tattoo. The longest I ever sit anymore is about 3 hours. The longest I ever tattooed somebody in one sitting is there's this young gal that still comes to me this day. Her name is Alexis, and she will sit until I can't tattoo any longer. And I've tattooed her 8 or 9 hours, but I don't tattoo that long anymore. It just kills my back and my hands and whatnot. What can a student do to get ready to become a tattoo artist? Draw. Can a student start selling their art to tattoo artists? Yeah, just get ready to draw. Go look at tattoo shops. Don't be intimidated. Where's people too? People get, I think there's some intimidating shops, but go talk to shops and see if they're ever hiring. Make up a little art portfolio. Go look at different schools. If any of you guys ever have do feel like you're interested in doing this and have questions, you can always send me pictures of your portfolio and I can give you tips and whatnot. The other thing to get ready for this is you could go ahead and and I think everybody should do this actually. Take a bloodborne pathogen and first aid and CPR class with the Red Cross. You have to do that while you're in school, and you have to do that to have your license. And I don't think that's a bad thing to do to have. So do that. I mean, but other than that, to get ready to be a tattoo artist, man, just draw and yeah, there's not a lot to it really. The school is quick, but yeah. Oh, actually, I almost forgot. One thing that I always recommend you youngster, is something that helped me immensely in my career is when you're of age to get a job, go out and get a job that you hear later in life a job that you think people in society look down on. Go flip burgers, go work retail, go work a lower paying public in your face job, and it'll give you a really good respect for this career. I worked at a grocery store for 5 years, then I worked retail for 11 years. And they are brutal jobs. They kick your butt. You're on your feet all day long. Customers are annoying. Customers are angry. Customers think you're an idiot because you didn't go to college, or they assume you didn't go to college and you flip burgers, or they just think you're an idiot. And you're not. Those jobs are brutal and they're hard, and we need people that do them. Go get one of those jobs to start with. And then when you get into a career, any career actually, when you get into a career like tattoo art, it'll make you so motivated to work harder and progress your skills and be nicer to clients that come in, that it'll just make you appreciate your life and your job more than you would had you not had those jobs. I know some world famous tattoo artists who have no ability to talk to clients because that's all they've ever done in their life. They went from high school to tattoo artists, and they think they're rock stars and they're awesome tattoo artists, but they're piece of crap people and they treat clients bad. And if you look at their tattoo resume, they'll have 30 shops and they've worked for 30 different shops, and it's always somebody else's fault why it didn't work out. It's because they have no people skills and no understand what it's like to work for the public, basically, or work with the public. So go get a job that you might consider a crappy job later and get good at it. Any job you ever do, try to be good at it. If you go work at McDonald's, be good at it. I mean, just that's a huge thing that my dad instilled in me. He had a farm, and he always instilled that, like, if you're gonna do something with your life, I don't care what it is. He always said, I don't care if you flip burgers, I don't care if you work on a railroad, just do it good and do it to the best of your ability, and do that any job you want. And then when you get a cool job, like I consider my job a cool job, you're gonna be like, hell yeah, I made it, this is super dope. And I think about that sometimes. I have really rough weeks sometimes. My back's all tore up, and I'm like, look at my retirement, and I'm like, I'm getting older, and I don't have as much in retirement as I want. But then I think about it, I'm like, I could still be at retail, and I think about those poor people that work at Walmart and sporting goods stores, and think about how pissed the customers always are, and I'm like, oh, I'm in such a blessed place in my life right now. So yeah, get a crappy job, or what you would consider a crappy job, but respect that job, and then it'll later make you respect other people in those jobs. And I just think it'll make you a better person all around. Can students start selling their art to tattoo artists or customers? We used to let people sell art at my store, but now with COVID and stuff, we don't do that as much. It's really to become a full-time artist is a lot easier now with social media, because you can market yourself and whatnot. But like if you work at a tattoo shop, yeah, like I sell prints and stickers and all sorts of stuff for extra money, shirts, sweatshirts, hats for extra money. But anymore, we don't let anybody else sell stuff at my shop. It's too much of a pain with taxes and COVID, and like everything's by appointment only right now. Yeah, so I'm sure some shops do it though. But yeah, once you become a tattoo artist, you can sell whatever you want there. I mean, like I sell Garbage Pail Kid trading cards at my shop because I'm a Garbage Pail Kids artist. So I do what I want. This is a dumb question, but is it rude to get tattoos from multiple artists within a small, medium time frame? No, it's your body. Do with it as you want. If you ever go to a tattoo artist and they get butt hurt that you went and had a tattoo done somewhere else, the probably reason why they're upset is they're upset about their own work, and they're afraid you're going to get a nicer tattoo somewhere else. I'm not the best tattoo artist in the area. Heck, the girl that works in my shop who's 10 years younger than me, she's a better tattoo artist than me. And I have clients that go to her. Like, she's just better at a lot of things, and she's younger and flexible like a little pretzel. And I don't own anybody's skin. I don't think it's rude. If a tattoo artist thinks it's rude, well then, yeah, that's on them. No, do what you want. It's your body. With that said, don't do something stupid, you kids. Listen to me. I'm going to be like your dad right now. Don't get a neck tattoo and don't get a hand tattoos. Look at me. I'm a tattoo artist. I've been doing this 10 years. I don't got any hand tattoos. I ain't got any stupid finger tattoos. I don't got any neck tattoos. Wait till you're in a career. I don't care what it is. I will call your parents and tell them to spank you if I see you out on the street and you have a neck tattoo and you're in like high school. Don't do it. We call them job stoppers. They look cool. And actually, I've been at this tattoo career for 10 years. My wife finally gave me the okay. I'm getting a big tattoo on my head because I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this industry. But don't get any stupid tattoos you can't hide. I wish every job would have let people to come in. If you had a dagger on your face or a spider on your chin tattooed, they would let you. But that's not the society we live in right now. It is hard to find a job. It's hard to find people that take you serious. You have a big, stupid something on your neck, especially when you're young. It's going to age. By the time you're like finding your way in life and your career, it's going to age. It's going to look kind of crappy. Listen to me. I'm like your second dad right now. Don't get any big, dumb, visible tattoos. Get them in places you can hide them. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be like some TikTok rapper who needs to show every tattoo they got. All right, there's my spiel on that. Is it difficult running your own shop? Yes and no. Yes, because there's a lot of things to do, but like you can always take some business classes at a community college. That's always really good. They tell you business stuff. I'd worked retail all the way up into management, and so I kind of knew how to run a business. It's really simple though, honestly. It's kind of a headache because you're always like, oh, every time I turn around, I have to order like more gloves or more needles, or oh, this license expired because I have to pay this tax. I pay quarterly tax. I pay county tax. I pay city tax. I pay state tax, and I pay federal tax. Somebody always wants some money, and I do things legit. I've been audited before by the IRS, and it was not fun, but they didn't get me for anything because I run it legit. Maybe take some business classes if you're serious about getting into this. Business classes would translate into being a tattoo artist better than art classes would at a art school. They're cheaper, and they work across the board for many businesses. So go take some business classes. Nothing wrong with that. Or don't go to college and just go to tattoo school and learn to tattoo and ask a lot of questions. What is the name of your shop? I want another tattoo soon. Bianca, are you 18? You better be 18 if you're getting another tattoo. I'm Destination Inc. In Hillsborough, right? We're in that same parking lot as Burgerville by the Hillsborough Airport. Yeah, Destination Inc. Just like my shirt says. I have no idea where I came up with that name. Do you have shortage of supplies because of the pandemic? Yeah, it is really kind of hard. I'm going to go over the time a little bit. So if you need to cut me off. If anybody wants to bounce here, but I'll keep rambling for a little bit. Shortage of supplies. Yeah, I used to be able to get like half of my stuff, like paper towels and gloves and soaps and stuff at Costco. And then I had like the more tattoo related stuff I get from this one place. And now I have about 10 distributors. I'm like, I get this one type of jewelry from this distributor because they always have in stock. This other type of jewelry from this distributor. Needles from here. Gloves come from gloveworld.com. Freaking toilet paper still comes from Costco. So yeah, how's that?
Oh yeah, it comes in right now. Yeah.
All right, cool. I don't know what happened. All right. Well, I'll speed it up here. So you can hear me good now?
Yes.
All right. How has COVID affected my tattoo career? I hate to say this, but in a weird way, it has been a complete blessing, and not in the fact, like, I don't want to say like we took advantage of COVID by any means, but it forced us to change our business. The way we used to do business, we did a lot of walk-ins, and now since we decided we need to do everything by appointment only, because before we'd get like 4 or 5 people showing up. We have a fairly small shop, and so like with COVID, it kind of messed things up. Whereas like I don't feel safe with 10 people in this little small area, and so what it forced us to do is learn how to set up an online scheduling system, take deposits through the computer, and then and so now we have everything broke up by just these time frames, and since we have a lot of people put in a deposit for their piercings or their tattoos, we have almost no people that cancel on us anymore, and so it has benefited us a ton, because piercings used to be like walk-ins only, and then now and so he would get like 8 piercings a day. Now he's doing almost 20 piercings a day because they're just scheduled out. It's kind of a pain when somebody wants a piercing today and they come to find out that every shop in a 25-mile radius is by appointment only. But hey, that's just COVID's done to all of us. So yeah, it's tough. I do not do piercings as well. I used to, but then I decided I'm just going to focus on my tattooing and my side sticker t-shirt business. Yeah. Yeah, anybody else got any other questions? I think that's about it. It's a great career. If any of you guys ever find a tattoo school or a piercing school that you have any questions about, again, my shop is destinationinc.com. You can find my email right on there. You're more than welcome to send me any questions you have about the industry. Whatever I can do to help you guys in your career. I do think that education, I'm just going to jump into the work field after high school because I wanted that paycheck. And then as far as I got in my life, like, continue your education, kids. Like, it's really important. I can't stress that enough. You can go to a trade school, something, do something. The one thing about tattoo schools is they're not that expensive in comparison. So maybe you can run that by your parents and they're like thinking of helping you get a loan for college. It's 10 grand versus it's 10 grand every term. So, yeah, again, though, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather and a little stuffy today, but I'm glad I could be here and chat with you guys. And again, don't get any stupid neck or face or hand tattoos until you're of a good age. And figure yourself out. Don't get those job stoppers. Yeah, holler at me if you have any questions. I'll stay on as long as anyone wants to stay on. But if you guys need to get off, that's fine too. It was nice meeting you.
Right. Thank you so much. That's a really good advice. And we'll have the recordings too on YouTube so you can review this. And yeah. And well, thank you. And even though you're sick, you're still here. So thank you so much and get some rest.
For sure. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yep.